We now focus on a story that is developing in Qatar. As we speak, 8 former Indian Navy officers are facing the death sentence in the country. While politics is peaking on the issue back home in India, the predicament of these decorated Navy officers has raised some very key issues. What are the options in front of the Indian government? India and Qatar are friends. How much of it will have a bearing on what happens next? Times Network put these questions to Supreme Court Bar Association President and Advocate Adish Agarwal. Listen in to what he's saying.
As a matter of fact, initially these convicts, these 8 our ex-naval officers, should go for appeal before Court of Appeal within the 15 days of the order of the sentence. Okay. And after that also there is another provision of appeal to court, that is to the highest court of Qatar, that is Court of Secession. Okay. So there they can go, and once they go in appeal, this order will be stayed. The Government of India can talk to Qatar government that these people are not supposed to do any espionage in that country, because India and Qatar, they are friendly countries.
As far as the families of these men are concerned, they remain in the dark about the exact reason behind Qatar's actions. What's worrisome is that the kin are claiming that communication has not been established with the union government even after yesterday's sentencing. Listen in.
मतलब आपकी डायरेक्टली अभी एक भी बार बात नहीं हो पाई?
हाँ, मेरी उनकी मदर से बात हो पा रही है।
बात हो पा रही है?
जी जी।
तो
बस संडे के संडे बात हो पाती है।
संडे के संडे?
हाँ, और वो बोल रहे हैं कि जल्द से जल्द कोशिश करिए कि हम बाहर आए।
तो गवर्नमेंट से कोई कम्युनिकेशन आपका इस बारे में हो रहा है क्या?
गवर्नमेंट से कोई कम्युनिकेशन नहीं हुआ। गवर्नमेंट से कम्युनिकेशन जो हुआ था 7 दिन पहले, वो जो थर्सडे को, लास्ट थर्सडे को, उनके MIA के जो प्रवक्ता थे उन्होंने कहा था कि गवर्नमेंट इसमें बहुत इनिशिएटिव ले रही है, डायरेक्ट बात कर रही है। उसके बाद कोई, हमको तो ऐसा लग ही नहीं था कि ऐसा कुछ होगा, क्योंकि एलिगेशन भी अभी तक कोई डिस्क्लोज नहीं कर रहे हैं वो। जहाँ तक हमें जानकारी है कि ऐसा कुछ कार्य भी नहीं है कि जो अगेंस्ट किया गया हो।
अब तक आपको क्या पता चला है कि ऐसा क्यों हुआ?
कुछ समझ में नहीं आया, कुछ नहीं कह सकता यार।
It was in August last year that Qatari authorities detained these ex-Indian Navy officers on unspecified charges, and their families have been in the dark regarding the nature of the allegations. The lack of clarity is also something that was echoed by Congress MP Manish Tewari in the Lok Sabha way back in December last year, around 4 months after the 8 were detained in Qatar. Manish Tewari is joining us on the broadcast, but before that, let's revisit his appeal in the Lok Sabha on December 7th, 2022.
एक पड़ोसी देश में हमारे 8 सेवानिवृत्त नौसेना के अधिकारी अगर 120 दिन से ज्यादा सॉलिटरी कन्फाइनमेंट में हों और ना उनको बताया गया, ना उनके परिवारों को बताया गया, और शायद भारतीय दूतावास को भी नहीं बताया गया कि उनके खिलाफ क्या आरोप है, ये बहुत ही एक दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण बात है। मैं आपके माध्यम से सरकार से अनुरोध करना चाहता हूं कि कतर की सरकार के साथ इस मामले को तुरंत उठाया जाए और ये जो 8 लोग हैं इनको रिहा कराकर हिंदुस्तान वापस लाया जाए।
Mr. Tewari, we've heard the statement that you made on the floor of the House on December 7th, 2022. Therefore, can I start by asking you how you react to India's reaction on what has happened? The MEA on record saying they are shocked with the death sentence. Should India have been shocked, given that this was coming?
Well, what has happened is extremely unfortunate. And the reaction of the Ministry of External Affairs is inane and imbecile, to put it very, very mildly. The reason why I say that is because this is not something which started today. These 8 naval officers were ostensibly picked up from their residences in the middle of the night on the 31st of August 2022 and were then incarcerated. Subsequently, I raised the matter when some of the relatives of these detained naval personnel got in touch with me, both outside Parliament and then on the 7th of December 2022, in a very detailed zero-hour intervention, which is there on my Twitter feed or the X feed. Subsequently, Dr. Jaishankar wrote a detailed letter to me on the 23rd of December 2022, outlining the steps which the Government of India had ostensibly taken in order to try and help the people who had been detained. So therefore, 10 months down the line, for Government of India to turn around and say that we are shocked is actually chicanery, for the lack of a better word, because I am reliably informed by the relatives of those people who were illegally incarcerated that even the legal assistance provided to these officers was very dodgy, because when they would get in touch with the lawyer would turn around and say, I've informed the Indian embassy, and you talk to them. And obviously, when you are in illegal incarceration in a foreign land, and these are not professional hardcore criminals, these are decorated officers of the Indian Navy, their wives have been, or for the bulk of them, are homemakers. They do not know as to what to do. And frankly, Government of India has been completely remiss in providing them with the kind of legal assistance and, more importantly, the kind of diplomatic intervention which was required with the government of Qatar to get them repatriated back home.
Mr. Tewari, you have used the word dodgy. Is dodgy the word you will also use to describe the details we have on the case so far? There's a degree of opaqueness about the charges against these 8 men. There are some media reports that are telling us, or at least suggesting, that Qatar believes that they were spying on behalf of the Israelis. Do things add up for you in this case?
You're absolutely correct, Shreya. Nothing adds up, and that's why dodgy would actually be a very mild word to use. For example, till now, the relatives of these detained officials, very high-ranking naval officers, decorated officers, do not know what the charges are. When I raised this issue in Parliament and Dr. Jaishankar responded in writing, neither did he elaborate or enunciate what the charges were, except for saying that the matter is sensitive, and that was also a press statement. So till today, you do not know what they were charged with, what kind of a trial took place, what is the kind of defense which was available to them in terms of resources, material, and even legal assistance. And ultimately, you have this death sentence by a court of first instance. This is absolutely unprecedented, because it challenges at one level India's ability to be able to protect and safeguard its diaspora, and we have billions and millions of people who are working around the world. So therefore, there has been a lot of speculation, but you obviously can't respond to speculation in a matter as serious as this. The government of Qatar has never put out a statement as to why they have been arrested, why they have been incarcerated. There was complete radio silence. Then even the judgment is not out in the public domain for anybody to actually try and discern as to what these charges were. And so therefore, it is as if some people were picked up in the middle of the night, and 10 months later, they've been sentenced to death.
Here's what is intriguing to me. These 8 ex-Navy veterans worked in a firm that was headed by an Omani citizen. Again, he was from the Omani Air Force. He was arrested along with these 8 as well, but in November, he was let free. So if he was arrested and if he was let free, why were these 8 sent to solitary confinement? Why have they now been given the death sentence? There are many former diplomats who have served in the Middle East who are saying that India should have in the first place ensured that the matter does not reach court like the Omanis did, because once the matter reaches court, things are out of your hand.
But I think it's been a litany of errors all around. First of all, there should have been an efficacious diplomatic intervention the moment Government of India learned about the arrest of these 8 naval officers. If it happened, I do not know. I am not aware of it. What was the outcome of it? Clearly, there was no outcome because they continued to be in solitary confinement. Subsequently, government was able to get consular access maybe 2 months down the line. I think some family members also had the ability of talking to them once or twice a week. I am given to understand that 3 of the officers who continue to be under detention and, of course, now have been convicted, their families are in Qatar. So therefore, there is absolutely a fog of opacity which surrounds this particular incident. And then the sentence of death, which in Indian jurisprudence happens in the rarest of rare cases. What is it these people did which jeopardized or undermined or subverted Qatari national security to such an extent that they've been given a death sentence? That is provided the speculation in the public space even has an iota of truth to it. So frankly, everybody's operating in the dark, and that's why I think it is incumbent for the Government of India, the Ministry of External Affairs, to put the full facts out in public domain, because this now concerns every serviceman and every ex-serviceman in this country, in addition to every concerned citizen. We cannot allow 8 of our decorated naval officers to go to their death in this manner.
Mr. Tewari, if you look at the trade numbers between Qatar and India, if you look at diplomatic ties, India and Qatar do share a good relationship. Will that have a bearing on the fate of these 8 men who are currently facing the death sentence in Qatar?
Frankly, do we have a good relationship? I think that itself is a question mark. Because if we would have had a good relationship, things wouldn't have come to this pass. You know, you've seen what the reaction of the government of Qatar was to some very irresponsible statements which were made by functionaries of the ruling party in the past. I do not want to go down that street. But obviously, if there would have been a good relationship, a robust diplomatic relationship, you ask yourself, would things have come to this pass?
Mr. Tewari, my last question to you, since you're also a lawyer, where do you see this court going? We do understand, with the facts that we have at hand, is that this conviction has come at what will be comparable to a district court in India, which means there is a high court and then there is a Supreme Court as far as Qatar's legal system is concerned that can still be appealed to. Can India intervene legally as we speak?
Frankly, I do not know. I don't have an answer to that because I am not aware of how the Qatari legal system works. I have not studied it. So therefore, it would be completely inappropriate for me to offer any opinion because it would be an ill-informed opinion. And therefore, I think the important thing is that you've not taken this matter, or the Government of India didn't take this matter seriously enough that it has come to this stage. The time has come now to take it very seriously. And I think more than legal help or legal intervention, it is diplomatic intervention at the highest level by the Prime Minister of India, which would possibly retrieve or redeem the situation.
Mr. Tewari, thank you very much for your time here on Mirror Now. Thank you very much indeed.